Unit 9 Family Theories. 9.1 Introduction. In the previous unit, we examined the term family, clarified how the study of family came into existence, and looked at the major differences between family and other associations. We also discussed the three important theories of family that are developmental theory, systems theory, and social exchange theory. Now, in continuation of these three family theories, we will study three more family theories in this unit. We will explain the structural functional theory by Talcott Parsons. The second theory which we are going to discuss is the feminist theory by Gordon. In this theory, we will study the changing status of women in India over a period of time. That is, during the Vedic Age, Brahmanic Age, Sutra and Epic Age, up to the period after independence. Further, out of various variants of feminist theory, we will discuss four variants in brief that are liberal feminism, socialist feminism, cultural anthropological feminism, and multicultural feminism. In the later part of the unit, we will study the bioecological theory by Yuri Bronfenbrenner. The basic assumptions and key concepts of these theories will be described, and the applications of these theories in our daily life will also be discussed. Objectives. After studying this unit, you will be able to define different family theories, explain the concepts associated with the family theories, and highlight the empirical applications of family theories. 9.2 Structural Functional Theory. Today, Tanisha is to resume her job. Her daughter Sania is 3 years old. Sania has spent her 3 years watching Tanisha as a sole caretaker of her. Now it's very difficult for Sania to imagine her single day without her mother. Sania has a myriad of questions for Tanisha like, why are you going to the office? Who will take care of me? Who will cook for me, etc. Tanisha gently replied, Dear, I have arranged a maid for you. She will take care of you. 9.2.1 Introduction. There emerge many themes from the above conversation that point toward the structural functional theory. Family is like a social organization, and all such organizations function best when there is a hierarchical organizational structure. The concept of functionalism evolved from biology and was followed by social and cultural anthropologists, who in turn explained why and how cultural traditions exist in various social systems. The major contribution to this theory was given by Talcott Parsons, 1937, as action theory. Let us understand it in a diagrammatic way. The diagram Fig 9.1 explains the social systems of our social world. Social world, cultural system, shared symbols, meanings, social system, organized social groups, institutions, personality system, species. Fig 9.1, social systems. According to this diagram, the cultural system, which is comprised of shared symbols and meanings, the social system, which includes organized social groups like parent-teacher associations and institutions like schools and colleges, and the personality system, which includes the individual, together form the social world. All these subsystems function for the adaptation of the system to maintain equilibrium. They function in the sequence of adaptation, goal attainment, integration and latency, maintenance of morals and motivation. Parsons' contribution was viewing the institution as a family. A child can be socialized into society only if society is organized in expected role structures, and adults receive stability from such role structures. Nowadays, we observe that industrialization and urbanization erode the extended kinship in the family. Still, Parsons believed that the family is a strong and stable institution capable of performing these basic functions. See Fig 9.2. Task orientation, superior, inferior. Instrumental, superior, father, husband, inferior, son, brother. Expressive, superior, mother, wife, inferior, daughter, sister. Figure 9.2, basic role and structure of nuclear family. 9.2.2, concepts. The following concepts will give us more clarity about this theory. 1. Action. The behavior is motivated and intended by the actor, so roots of this theory are in purposeful actions. 2. Function. A social group, individual actor, or institutional actor can act to satisfy a need. For example, a family satisfies the basic needs of members like food, shelter, etc. If a family loses its function, then as a social organization it weakens. For example, loss of a job of a provider in the family may be responsible for family breakdown. 3. Structure. At a simple level, the structure of a group or social system might be viewed as the individual physical members of the group. The principal structure of the family is defined by the structure and complementariness of the social roles played by family members, for example, father, mother, son, daughter, etc. 4. System. The big difference between structure and system is that the system is treated as a whole. It is larger and more encompassing as it includes the institutional norms that regulate behaviors in the entire subsystem. 5. Norms. Norms are responsible for social control and order on one hand, and stable and expected interactions for individual actors on the other hand. It signifies two sides of the same coin, because the normative order presents the individual with stable relationships. Therefore, we can say that norms are the social rules that regulate our behavior with each other as well as cultural objects. For instance, our society has prohibited physical relations before marriage. Number 6. Values. Values are the expression of culture, interacting with individuals. Thus, the individual is socialized to value certain ideas, attitudes, and things, which in turn become the motive to follow the norms and perform the roles in the social system. For example, touching the feet of elders. 7. Society. A social system that survives its original members, replaces them through biological reproduction, and is relatively self-sufficient. 8. Instrumental. This concept is primarily concerned with relations of the group to external situations, including adaptations to external situations and the establishment of satisfactory goal relations for the system vis-à-vis the situation. In the nuclear family, the husband-father as breadwinner tends to specialize in the instrumental activities of the family. 9. Expressive. Expressiveness is concerned primarily with the integration or solidarity of the group, the internal relations of members to each other, and the emotional stress or tension produced by performance of their roles in the group. While the husband-father is away at work, the wife-mother might stay at home and is responsible for the emotional satisfaction of the family and symbolizing the integrative focus of the home. 9.23 Variants of structural functional theory. There are two variants of this theory. 1. Convergence theory. Conjugal roles are tied to modernization. For instance, nowadays, smaller families are increasingly common due to children being an economic liability and as health increases longevity. Due to this, the conjugal unit becomes increasingly important and the family declines in importance. 2. Neo-functionalism. This concept was given by Swenson, 2004, p. 58. He propounded the following. The basic functions of the family are the socialization of children and the stabilization of adult personalities. Parental role and parental task coordination are necessary for the child's secure attachment and socialization. Family becomes dysfunctional when poor parenting produces poor socialization. Theory construction must include family structures, single-parent family, step-family, intact family, nuclear family, etc., as well as the internal relationships in the family. Family is constructed of cultural values and morality that have significant influences on family relationships. The role of morals and values in the family is much more direct. 9.2.4 Empirical applications. 1. Family structure and child outcomes. This theory posits that intact nuclear families have requisite role structures to provide the most stable and nurturing environment for children. Structure alone cannot make any difference, but events and processes that led to the structure, such as divorce or parental death, are also responsible for child outcomes. 2. Role differentiation and division of labor. Division of labor produces joint dependency. Joint dependency stabilizes marriage and family. For example, the functional needs of the family may be fulfilled in several ways. One way is for the male to undertake a greater role in domestic labor. Another way is for the woman's wage to allow her to replace her lost domestic labor by purchasing substitute childcare and domestic services. 9.3 Feminist theory. Prachi was shopping at the grocery store when suddenly she saw Poonam bargaining for something. Prachi exclaimed, "What a pleasant surprise, Poonam!" Poonam replied, "Really, I myself did not expect you here." As they started moving out of the grocery store, Poonam invited Prachi to a house which was not too far from the grocery store. Both were meeting each other after almost 8 years. "So what are you doing nowadays, and what about kids?" Prachi asked. "I am working with a software firm at an executive post, and I have a 2-year-old son." "So what about you?" Poonam asked. "Wow, that's great how you manage all this. I mean, I couldn't take up a job because of my daughter. I and my husband do not prefer to keep my daughter in the care of others," Prachi informed. Poonam replied, "I have hired a caregiver from a private company to take care of my son." Like this, they went on talking on many other issues. 9.31 Introduction. As we can see in the above example, there are 3 women portraying different perspectives of feminism. Poonam emphasizing on work roles, Prachi following the cultural role, and the caregiver is representing the nurturer's role. The purpose of this section is to identify what unites diverse positions of women into a feminist framework, and then to highlight the variation within this framework. This theory is not different from others, but it is evaluative and ideological. That is, the role of such a theory is not simply to establish explanation, but to use theory as a tool in changing the world. This theory originated from a social movement. Over time, feminism has focused its attention on many different, although related areas. For example, till the 19th century, feminists focused on equal rights, and in the 20th century, they focused on the diverse roles of women in society and areas related to it. Let us have a look at the trajectory of women's status in India through ancient times. In the Vedic age, 2500 to 1500 BC, women had the freedom to choose their life partner. Sometimes love marriages also happened. Widow marriages were allowed within the family, but they could not inherit the property. In the Brahmanical age, 1500 to 500 BC, higher status girls were allowed to get education and freedom in the selection of a partner also. Divorce was permitted by the wife, but not frequently. In the Sutras and Epic age, 500 BC to 500 AD, the status of women declined, and early marriages started. Abandoning of education for females and living up to the expectations of the husband came into force. In the Smritis age, 500 AD to 1800 AD, the position of women worsened in society. Sati Pratha started to prove loyalty towards the husband. Women were not at all involved in decision-making. Prior to independence, during British rule, the status of women was given importance. Women actively participated in reform movements with reformers like Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, the Indian National Congress, etc. Organizations started being headed by women like Sarojini Naidu. Women started working outside the home. After independence, the status of women has been rising significantly due to various acts developed favoring feminism. Women started adopting various roles in society, from provider to nurturer. Gordon, 1979, defines feminist theory as an analysis of women's subordination for the purpose of figuring out how to change it, p. 107. 9.3.2 Assumptions. The assumptions of the feminist theory are stated below. 1. Women's experience is central. Women's experience is real and provides the foundation for knowledge. For example, what women think, feel, and understand differs from what men feel, think, or do, especially in dealing with violence, children, etc. 2. Feminist theory has many voices. Feminists have different arguments over the status of women in society. Some regard it as essential to give the same respect and status to women, while others consider feminist thinking as relative to patriarchy. 3. Feminist theory is emancipatory. It means this theory liberates women from patriarchal oppression because patriarchy is responsible for inequality in the lives of women. Thus, 9.3.3 Concepts. The following concepts will give us more clarity about this theory. 1. Gender and sex. Sex refers to the biologically determined component, and gender is a cultural and learned component. There are 3 types of gender: individual gender or gender identity. It focuses on the ways by which we acquire our personal construct of gender, like what is masculine and feminine. Structural gender or gender as a social status. This is a class or category that is part of a hierarchical organization. For example, women are second-class citizens. Cultural gender. It focuses on the symbols attached to social gender and their construction. 2. Family and household. Families are defined neither by membership nor by the fact of co-residence, but by the prevailing ideology that suggests that a certain division of labour is normal. For example, certain work is woman's work because of some inherent maternal ability. 3. Public and private. We can understand this concept with the following example. Exploitation of women and children occurs more in less regulated environments in the private sphere because men could escape public sanction for beating, violence, and even rape because it was in the private sphere of the family. 4. Sexism. Someone who believes that traits such as sex are genetically determined and then makes harmful attributions about all individuals with the trait would be labelled as sexist, and behaviour guided by such beliefs would be sexism. For example, girls cannot play football or all women are peace-loving is a potential distinction based on class inclusion and would be an example of sexism. 9.3.4 Variants of feminist theory. There are many variants of feminist theory. Here we will discuss only 4. 1. Liberal feminism. The major thrust of this perspective is on achieving gender equality. Thus, most effort in liberal feminism has been directed at equality of opportunity and the removal of barriers that would work against such equality. For example, research done on the division of labour shows that when both spouses are working, the woman's working hours are more as compared to the man's. 2. Socialist feminism. According to this theory, male patriarchy as well as female socialization in the family have encouraged the social partitioning of labour to justify not only social inequality but inequality of opportunity. There are 4 central points responsible for this inequality. First, due to childbearing and child-rearing functions, women are forced to be sedentary. Second, infants are dependent mostly on mothers for their survival and take a long time to become independent. Third, bonding between the mother-child dyad has influenced the psychology of people, resulting in considering women as nurturers. Fourth, due to basic reproductive classification, women are different from men. They are more expressive than instrumental. 3. Cultural anthropological feminism. The norms, values, and roles are culturally determined and socially transmitted. These feminists are not sure whether biological or socialist feminists are responsible for the origin of female culture. It is a complex weave of culture and genes that interact to create the femaleness that cultural feminists treat as central. For instance, nurturance, related to nature, and expressiveness, related to culture, relate with femaleness. 4. Multicultural feminism. Women have multiple identities, and these multiple identities are suppressed somewhere in their personality to fulfill the role of women. These multiple identities must be studied as they are responsible for everyday experiences they live. 9.3.5 Empirical applications. 1. Gendered division of labour. The most obvious application for feminist theory has been in the area of the division of labour between husbands and wives. Research shows that wives spend almost double the time husbands spend on household chores and child care. Ehrenreich, 2000, speculates that housework is moving from the private sphere to the public in what she calls the capitalization of housework. She explains that more dual-earner families are hiring maid services to do the previously contested housework. 2. Measuring diversity in feminism. Researchers have identified scales to measure the diversity of feminist attitudes, like conservative feminism, liberal feminism, radical feminism, socialist feminism, cultural feminism, and women of colour feminism. 9.4 Bioecological theory. Reena and Rahul are both working, and their work timings are similar, so Rahul has to help Reena with the household tasks. But Rahul's mother does not like this. Whenever she visits their home, she orders Rahul around, "Don't do household tasks as they are not meant for you." But Rahul refuses and insists, "Reena is so tired, and I must help her as she also stays out the whole day." Here Rahul adapts to the situation to facilitate their lives. 9.41 Introduction. In 2005, Yuri Bronfenbrenner, one of the ecological developmentalists, pioneered the above theory. We have read this theory in Unit 5 also. Here we will examine it from the family theory's perspective. This theory has its roots in biology. Biologist Ernst Haeckel coined the term ecology. The basic approach of this theory is adaptation. 9.4.2 Assumptions. This theory has focused on the following assumptions. 1. Individuals and groups are both biological and social in nature. According to this theory, the environment is both spatial and biophysical. That is, the development of the human being depends on the nature-nurture interactions through the gradual process of adaptation. Human beings are dependent on their environment for sustenance, air, water, food, etc. Human beings can survive only in environments in which their biological needs are met. Human beings are social and thus are dependent on other human beings. 2. Time is both a major constraint as well as a resource in the family life cycle of the individual. As life is finite, time becomes an important resource to understand social organization and individual behavior. 3. Human interactions are spatially organized and can be understood on several levels. There are 2 levels, individual and population. For example, a person's death due to prolonged illness may be a negative outcome at an individual level but positive at the population level. 9.4.3 Concepts. The main concepts of bioecological theory are 1. Ecosystem. It is the subset of the larger environment but contains the elements of wholeness and the interdependency of those parts. 2. Ecological levels. According to Bronfenbrenner, the family ecosystem has 5 levels of analysis. 1. Microsystem, 2. Mesosystem, 3. Exosystem, 4. Macrosystem, and 5. Chronosystem. Fig. 9.3. Bronfenbrenner's ecological model of child development. These we will discuss in detail later in this chapter. 3. Niche. Every ecosystem contains appropriate function for the maintenance or adaptation of units in the environment. For instance, the role of father as provider. 4. Adaptive range. An organism that occupies a niche in an ecosystem can be categorized as having an adaptive range. For example, a 3-year-old will not be able to understand language with complex words because of his developmental stage. 5. Mutualism, commensalism, and corporate relations. A symbiotic relationship refers to the family living together and human relationships. Some of the major forms of this concept are mutualism, relationships where the 2 organisms share a common host and mutually benefit one another. Commensalism, different organisms share a common host or niche but maintain independence. Corporate relations, individuals compete for the same niche. 6. Ontogenetic development. The biological part of developmental change is referred to as ontogenetic development. As in ecological theory, it is illustrated that development is always influenced by the relationship between organism and its immediate environment. 7. Natural selection and adaptation. Natural selection is the concept about the outcome of adaptation. For example, in a family there is a rule that prayer should be done prior to eating a meal. If members adapted to this norm, then they are selected, that is, allowed to finish the meal. And if they are poor adapters, then they are not selected, that is, not provided with the meal. 9.44 Variants of bioecological theory. This theory has the following variants. 1. Family demography and ecology. Peterson, 1969, defined demography as the systematic analysis of population phenomena, P1. For example, the study of fertility rate, marriage rate, etc. 2. Human developmental ecology. As discussed earlier, Bronfenbrenner has given 5 levels of analysis. This theory can be applied throughout the life course. He argues that the child always develops in the context of family-type relationships. Development is the outcome of nature and nurture interaction. For example, toilet training before 18 months of age will frustrate both the child and the parent. He gave the following 5 levels of family ecosystem. I. Microsystem. Microsystem is the innermost level, which refers to the activities and interaction patterns in the child's immediate surroundings. For example, an attentive child seeks a positive response from parents as compared to a destructive child. In a microsystem, the presence of third parties influences the interaction between 2 individuals. For example, marital conflict may be responsible for the parent's aggressive behavior towards the child. E. Mesosystem. Mesosystem refers to the connection between 2 or more microsystems, for example, home, school, daycare center, etc. E. Exosystem. Exosystem refers to the social settings that do not contain children but affect their experiences in immediate settings. For instance, friends, neighbors, extended families, community health services, workplace of parents, etc. IV. Macrosystem. Macrosystem is not a specific context but instead refers to the values, laws, and customs of a particular culture. V. Chronosystem incorporates time as the developmental history of the individual, events and experiences, and its effect on the development of the child. 3. Sociobiology. Sociobiology refers to the biological explanation for social behavior. It emphasizes the concept of inclusive fitness, or kin selection. 4. Human ecology, family and consumer sciences. Human ecology studies the ecological theory for family decision-making, that is, family as a system interacting with its environment. It also highlights home economics as a form of human ecology. Only through intelligent consumption and management of household resources can our society combat the waste and the pollution of unchecked capitalism. 9.4.5 Empirical Applications 1. Effect of daycare on young children. This is the most important application of ecological theory on family. Variables like mother-child attachment, non-compliance among children, etc. can be studied using this theory. 2. Child maltreatment. The presence of informal support networks, other than the parent-child dyad in the community, can reduce child maltreatment. This could be a challenging area for researchers. 9.5. Let us sum up. In this unit, we have learned about the different family theories. To begin with, the structural functional theory illustrates the relationship between the structure of the family and the ability of the family to serve the functions of society, reproduction, and socializing young. Despite criticisms, this approach continues to stimulate scholars and practitioners. Feminist theory highlights the role of women in society, factors affecting the division of labor in the feminist framework, and how liberalization is replacing the traditional role of women with modernization. Bioecological theory has great scope and breadth. It mainly covers the profit in relations at the individual and group levels. Bioecological theory is in its youthful stage, taking into account diverse theories. It emphasizes both the biological and social aspects of human beings. 9.6 Glossary. Ecological system theory. Bronfenbrenner's approach, which views the child as developing within a complex system of relationships affected by multiple levels of the environment, from the immediate setting of family and school to broad cultural values and programs. Feminism. A discourse that involves various movements, theories, and philosophies concerned with the issue of gender difference, advocating equality for women and campaigning for women's rights and interests. Psychodynamics. Systematized study and theory of the psychological forces that underlie human behavior, emphasizing the interplay between unconscious and conscious motivation. Socialization. The process of learning one's culture and how to live within it. Social systems perspective. View of the family as a complex set of interacting relationships influenced by the larger social context.